we're going to give you a very exciting final 11 games. Here.
Absolutely.
And then we've got a little play-in scenario. Hopefully we get into the playoffs, and a lot of work yet to be done. So it should be a fun finish to the season.
Absolutely, and that's where I wanted to start with you, because I'll admit, Ryan the Hacker Green, who you've been on his program, and
Yes.
we were on remote location on Friday, promoting the NCAA tournament, but we both had our computers up and we had the Magic game on as they were facing the Washington Wizards, and we were absolutely pleased with the dominance that the Magic were able to show on Friday. In your opinion, how much did the Magic need that win, especially in enemy territory?
Well, I love what you guys are doing for us, first and foremost. I love that you're watching the game, and I love that you're promoting the team and spreading the joy about Magic basketball up there in Jacksonville. I love it, because we've got a ton of fans. We got a ton of fans up there, and they're finding you in Jacksonville. So I think that's fantastic. But that win was huge. You had a tough loss against Houston, but then Houston goes on and wins its 9th consecutive game after they beat Orlando. So that you just kind of ran into a buzzsaw. You played well enough to beat them, put up 108 points, but they're just playing at another level right now. So you had to make sure you didn't go up there and have a letdown against the Washington Wizards, and they didn't. Paolo Banchero, RJ, is just playing at another level. I mean, he is playing at an MVP level since the All-Star break. 29.5 points per game since the break. That's second in the NBA the last 15 games since the All-Star break. He only trails Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who probably is the MVP, right? With the season that he's had. It's going to be him or Jokic when it's all said and done. So just a terrific year for Paolo. He continues to set the tone. And then Franz, most points per game for him against any opponent is the Wizards, and he continued that. He got you 21 as well. And I think what has been a problem all year for this team is just getting consistent contributions from, like Shaq says, the others, right? You got to get the KCPs, the Wendell Carter Juniors, the Anthony Blacks, and that's what we got on. That's what we got on Friday. Every one of those guys contributed, and when that happens, you can put up 120 points.
Yeah.
It felt like an offensive barrage
for
this Orlando Magic team, knocking down 17 threes and 120 points. But when everybody's contributing like that, boy, it's a lot of fun to watch.
Let's stay on Paolo Banchero for a moment, because I know it probably hasn't been the season he's wanted, nor the team, nor us as Orlando Magic fans. But my goodness, you bring up the recent stretch in which he's had, and I mean, it's been nothing short of phenomenal. To you, what makes him such a special player day in and day out, where he's able to have these performances and really is one of the stars of tomorrow in the NBA?
Yeah, he really is. It's the things are slowing down for him. He's finally got his legs under him. He was playing like this right before he got injured, right? So right before that oblique injury that cost him 34 games, he was playing at this level, and then he's just kind of continued that since the All-Star break. So I think he came back. He had a stretch of games that he kind of struggled a little bit. And listen, he's seeing different defenses. When guys aren't knocking down shots, then you can just double and triple team Paolo and dare the rest of the guys to shoot. And that's what we saw for a majority of those games. And so he had to learn how to play through that. He had to learn to pick and choose his spots. Now he decided, okay, I'm going to put my head down and get to the free throw line, right, which he's done more than anybody since the All-Star break also. He's hitting 83% from the free throw line since the All-Star break. So that's been huge, not only getting there, but knocking them down. So I think this is the best he's felt in his NBA career. His legs are under him. Physically, he's there. And then here's the thing, too, RJ. If you look at it, he missed those 34 games. So if you can get through this play-in, you're going to get through. You're going to get Boston or Cleveland, and obviously it's going to be very difficult to win that series. But Paolo's got 34 games that he didn't play. I mean, he's going to have fresh legs going into any playoff series. So you like that. You like your odds with that against no matter who you play. So I think just the way he's reading defenses, how he feels, it's a combination of everything. And I think that's what's making him play at this level. But 22 years old, RJ, are you kidding me? In his third season, and he's playing like this? This is just unbelievable.
Absolutely. Continuing our conversation with Dante Marchitelli. He is the host as well as the sideline reporter for your Orlando Magic. Also catch him on Magic Insiders. You can hear that on 96.9 The Game. Follow him on Twitter at Dante Magic. If I were to put in the dictionary heartbeat of a team, I think in just a big, beautiful face that would show up would be that of Jalen Suggs. And it really feels like the team does miss that heartbeat, that Energizer bunny on the floor night in and night out. Are you feeling that as well, that the team misses just the mere presence of Jalen Suggs on the floor?
Oh, there's no question. For a long, diehard Magic fans that go back to the Darryl Armstrong era, it was kind of like that. Like you knew no matter, and I'll add another one into the mix is Mo Wagner. I mean, those are two guys that are just the lifeblood of this team from an energy standpoint. I mean, every single night, you know what you're going to get from those guys, and that's a problem. And for the opposing teams, not only Jalen Suggs what he does defensively, he'd get into guys, he fights through screens, he doesn't let his man into the paint. That's where a lot of our breakdowns are. If you can get through that first line of defense, you're getting in the paint, you're kicking it out for wide open threes, and that's been a huge struggle for us here the last couple of months. That didn't happen with him. Nobody's getting by Jalen, right? And then the energy, he'll make a big defensive play, and then he's screaming, he's yelling, he's engaging the crowd. He brings that building to life. He's detonated that place a few times with some of his hustle plays that he's made. So he's certainly a big part of this. He's the head of the snake on the defensive end. Everybody falls in line when they see him playing that hard. But then, not only that, he was leading you in threes made. He's one of your best three-point shooters. So for a team that is dead last in three-point shooting, you're not only missing your heart and soul, you're not only missing your best defensive player, you're not only missing an all-NBA defensive player, you're missing your leading three-point shooter. Right. I mean, that's a lot to lose in Jalen Suggs, in addition to being your emotional leader. And then on those nights where you struggle to score, you're barely getting to 100 points, Mo Wagner was a guy that would go get 3 offensive rebounds and 2 putbacks. He'd get to the free throw line. He is your best three-point percentage on your team. So Jalen Suggs in threes made, and then Mo Wagner in three-point percentage. So you're missing a ton, not only from an emotional standpoint, but from an offensive standpoint, and then what Jalen brings on the defensive end. So it's hard. I think the last 2 months, what you've seen is just how do we replace that? And then now finally realizing, okay, nobody can be those guys. You have to be the best you can in your role. And Corey Joseph somehow steadying the ship here the last 5 games. You're not turning the ball over as your starting point guard. I think that's been huge. So you've just been struggling to try to figure out what's your identity after you lost those 2 guys. For you,
you've been a diehard Orlando Magic fan. You've been, a part of this team night in and night out. I understand for guys like me, guys like Hacker, guys such as yourself, and maybe many other Orlando Magic fans, maybe not the year that we were expecting, but a lot of stuff has gone on and has happened with Paolo Banchero going down, Jalen Suggs, as well as Franz Wagner. But for you, just on the inside of it all, how do the guys feel? How is morale? Just understanding that, hey, this wasn't the year that we may have wanted, but let's finish the year out strong, and then let's see what happens once we get to the playoffs. How's morale been?
I think we're getting better. I think it's there. I think it's kind of climbing that way that you're talking about now, but I don't think it's been that way for quite a bit. I think there was some frustration with roles and trying to figure out, what's my role? How do I contribute? I think it's never been about, being angry about minutes or being angry about or feeling bad for yourself. It's like, okay, guys are out. I got to step up. And I think we've seen guys kind of trying to do too much, and guys have not been able to, contribute in the ways that they had hoped. I think there's so much frustration on RJ. This is by every metric you look at, it's the worst offensive team in the NBA. They just struggle to knock down shots. And I think in order to be the best defensive team like they are, you're giving up the fewest points per game in the entire NBA. So on those nights when you just struggle to score, it takes a toll. And I think whereas before you would buckle down and just say, okay, we just got to get a few extra steals, or we got to block some shots, or we got to get out in transition and make up for the offense that way. I think you had a lot of kind of feeling sorry for yourself and some frustration that the ball wasn't going in, and that was affecting them on the defensive end. So I think we are now through that. Okay. We realize, as tough as it was with Jalen, there's now finality and closure. We now realize, okay, he's not coming back. We have to do it ourselves. We have to get through this. And I think with that comes some closure. So I think within the last 2 weeks, I think they've realized, okay, we are enough. We can do this. We can figure this out. And, they went 3-2 on that road trip. They won a big game at Cleveland, won a big game at Milwaukee, and that gave them all kinds of confidence. So now I think we're now back to the team that's like, we can beat anybody. And I think it hurt. I think it hurt for a while. Took them about 5 or 6 weeks to get through that. But now I truly think that morale is at an all-time high. They understand that, hey, this is what we got. We're going to give it everything we've got. And I truly think they feel they are the team that nobody's going to want to play in the playoffs. And I think that if you get that confidence, right, going into the playoffs. Last year they were 5th in the East with all the injuries that they've had. Right. There's only 5 or 6 teams that have lost more games to injury than this Magic team. If you can get 7th, if you can get the play-in and win 7th, and now, last year you were 5th, this year you were 7th, with everything you've gone through, I think you'd certainly take that and then just give Cleveland or Boston the best run you can.
Final couple of moments with Dante Marchitelli. He's our guest. He's the host and sideline reporter for your Orlando Magic. So the Magic welcome the Lakers in the town tomorrow. However, I just want to know from you, in this final stretch from the Magic, is there anything that you're going to be highlighting that you want to see from this team before they get into the play-in and make the playoffs, to where you're saying, let's see how strong and how connected they get on this one particular aspect of the game, whether defensively or offensively, that you think it will help them once they get to the NBA postseason?
Well, it's a great question, RJ. I think defensively, I think you're there. I think you're one of the best defensive teams. You've got length, you've got size, you've got depth, you've got guys, you've got a lot of guys that are capable of making life miserable for the opponent. I want to see J.I. get those minutes up. Yeah. Some nights it's 7 or 8 minutes, and he's giving you what he's got, and he's tired. And Goga Bitadze, same thing. It's the most minutes he's played ever in his career. It's the most points, rebounds, assists, blocks ever, and it's been that way for 2 months. Yeah. For Goga. So more minutes than he's ever played. We have got to be a better defensive rebounding team. We were one of the best in defensive rebounding percentage, and we've kind of let that get away from us. Teams are crashing the offensive glass, and that's hurt. We've got to do a better job of getting stops and getting out in transition. I think that's a way we can get points when we struggle to score. I've got to see Wendell Carter Jr. play like he did in Washington the rest of the way. This guy has a chance to be a complete difference maker. If he gets back to that physical Wendell, rebounding, aggressive on the offensive end, he's just been so dismissive on the offensive end, just ready to hand it to anybody else. We need him. We need him to score, and we've seen that here the last couple of weeks, and that needs to continue. So we got to figure that out. We got to get Cole healthy. Cole Anthony, yeah. I think you're looking at a role where Corey Joseph starts. He steadies you. He just gets, the number. There's no coincidence that Paolo and Franz's numbers are through the roof with Corey Joseph as your starting point guard. Right. He's getting those guys the ball in their spots, and they're taking advantage of him. Cole has a chance to be the leading scorer of anybody coming off the bench the rest of the way. Right. He can be your microwave. He can be your guy you give it to here down the stretch. But I think if we can shore up that defensive rebounding, if we can find a way to move the basketball, ball gets stuck, we get tight at times, if we can continue to move the basketball, and we can get some of those other guys going here the final 11 games, I say watch out. I really feel that they can, even without Jalen and Mo, that they can make some noise.